Hey guys, kevincage here. Be sure to like and subscribe and let's get right into it. So I want to talk about a variety of crypto assets in this space today, including QNT with Quant and Overledger, Algorand. I want to talk about groups like R3 and IBM. We'll talk about Vechain, Cardano, IOTA, XRP, and of course the company Ripple, all a part of this INATBA. This stands for International Association for Trusted Blockchain Apps. I'm going to call them INATBA just as, shorten it. And notice they offer developers and users of DLT a global forum to interact with regulators and policymakers and bring blockchain tech to the next stage. Now, I want to go over a very interesting thread. I think it is very telling, and I'm not about tribalism. I know I cover XRP primarily on this channel, but believe it or not, I am just a utility maximalist. I diversify, and I believe that these assets are actually going to be rather complementary rather than just one ruling the world. I do not see this type of, hegemonic currency like many do, all right? So just to speed through this, we can see the INATBA, the INATBA members, and just to speed through, right here we have Accenture, one of Ripple's first investors, also involved with the digital dollar project. We have Bank of England, innovating and renovating, I should say, the real-time gross settlement system. We have Algorand. They have deep ties with not only MIT, of course, with the MIT faculty, essentially creating the Algorand Foundation, but also the Boston Federal Reserve, specifically in terms of research for technology and applications to create a borderless economy. They are a part of some very huge groups. If you paid attention to King Solomon's recent video showing Algorand tied to derivatives as well. All of these groups, I believe, are going to interoperate and complement one another. We can go through a variety of RippleNet members here. No surprise, some of the biggest banks, even, BBVA right there. And just we'll keep going. And there are some projects like Ontology listed as well. We have Cardano Foundation, makes me think of IOHK, Emergo. They're working on some big things. And of course, they're another group that is focused on blockchain at the World Economic Forum. And if you guys remember, earlier this year, the World Economic Forum is called the Great Reset. And now we're even seeing on Time magazine titled The Great Reset. All the world's a stage. This is truly playing out like a movie. All right, we have Chain, Consensus, and as we can recall from what was that August right here, August 25th, JP Morgan and Consensus announced that the Quorum open source project would now be acquired and managed by Consensus as part of a strategic investment by JP Morgan. Do not be fooled. JP Morgan, even Goldman Sachs, their hands are in every single cookie jar. They tell you one thing to make you look that way. It's just a sleight of hand trick. Look at my right hand while I do something else with my left. Remember here, Jamie Dimon, CEO, back in the day, even before Bitcoin did that big run up, right before it hit that all-time high of 20K per BTC, he was just saying that, Bitcoin is a fraud. He would fire anybody that at Chase Bank or anyone that would be buying Bitcoin, all of this type of stuff, all right? They're only out for themselves. You guys can do your own research, question everybody's motives, including me, but I essentially just believe in the space and I want you guys to do your own research, okay? So we'll kind of speed through here. So we have Consensus, of course, and we've also shown the document. Remember, Matthew, I believe he's from France. He made that great document of the ISO family showing USDC, Algo, XLM, XDC, XRP, IOTA, all of the groups and ecosystems working together for a variety of use cases, also including R3. So we'll keep going here, and we'll talk about QNT in depth and detail as well. All right. So I know we've seen Eclipse Foundation. We also see EWT, Energy Web. Remember, with the decarbonization initiative teamed up with Ripple to decarbonize the XRP ledger. I just don't see other groups doing what these groups are doing. They're working together and they are involved with some very, very big names. We have Everest, of course, an NTT data company. I don't even need to, explain any further with this because, of course, you guys know that document. Let's see. IOTA, of course, with, Internet of Things overall. In the Tangle, reminds me of HBAR with Hedera in the hash graph rather than just a blockchain per se. All right, we got Ledger. And also, guys, there has been, I guess people with Ledger have gotten a bunch of emails. Please, 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 because I do have a Ledger device as well, and I utilize it for cold storage for some of my assets. Do not ever give anybody your 24 passphrase or the seed phrase, those seed words. There's actually an ability, by the way, to also change the number. Instead of 24, you can change it to a higher number as well. You can mess with that and alter it, but please never, never, never give anybody those seed phrases. Be smart, and when you are updating your firmware and the software and updating Ledger Live, just understand that there are phishing attacks always. They're rampant. Phishing meaning, PHI, like phishing. And they're just trying to get you to click that link, and take advantage and do, key logging or anything in between. So please be safe, okay? And I don't want to scare you by any means, but I just know that it does exist. So do not take a picture of your, seed phrase and put it online. Do not take digital pictures of your passwords for anything. Do not brag and tell people that you own, 100,000 XRP. It is just not smart. Okay, also ontology, we have R3, we have Quant, which we'll be going over. SAP, remember they helped trial and send between Reesbank and ATB, XRP back in the day as well. And we have SIA, which is just another behemoth. I mean, of course, Siemens is massive as well. But SIA, remember, not only linked with R3 and the company Ripple, but who? QNT. This is a group of essentially 600 banks. Massive, absolutely massive. And they said they're working with the big players, that gentleman of SIA in SIANets, I believe it's SIANet or SIA chain. He said we're working with the big players in DLT, and he said Ripple and R3. Okay, so keep going. We have Swift, no surprise. All right, and just speed through that. And of course, we know that Vechain's right here. We know IBM, we know Ripple. A lot of these people are a part of this group, so it should be no surprise. So just to touch on this, we know Swift's headquarters are based out of, near Brussels, right in Belgium. Okay. Now, remember, Swift, IBM, Ripple, around 100 other firms have joined this new blockchain association, and this is INAPA, which we were just referring to. So notice the European Commission initiative, and they are just, focused on creating a group, an association of these trusted blockchain applications. It's been set up as a global multi-stakeholder forum aimed to bring together developers and users of blockchain tech to promote mainstream adoption across multiple sectors. Okay? So you can go through this if you'd like, do whatever, you see fit, but notice they are also based out of Brussels. Interesting. Okay, and we understand how blockchain DLT as a whole is going to basically, revolutionize payments altogether and much more, just data and how information is stored and bookkeeping, intellectual property. There's truly no limit, and me trying to speculate what it's going to be like in 5 years is just as silly as trying to give a price prediction because there are so many things that can happen. All right, launching ceremony. We also, notice Ripple, Consensus, all these groups a part of INAPA. You guys can go check and confirm this is for yourself. Just right here, Accenture, Deutsche, etc. Okay. So, went through all this. Now I want to talk about something very, very cool. So I know we touched on this in the past, this ODAP, this Open Digital Asset Protocol. And notice this was essentially related to Quant Network. Now, MIT as well. And I want to talk about this specifically, this phenomenal thread. Now, do not get bored here because this has to do with a variety of projects. So I just want to go over this. This is CryptoSec. It's SEQ. If you guys want to follow him, he puts out some great information. Now, I don't agree with everything all the time, but you definitely have to keep an open mind. And there's also some arguments I want to kind of give my, take for whatever it's worth. So right here, CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, are going to completely overhaul the global financial system. The biggest change since Bretton Woods interoperability and standards are going to be key for Quant Network. And remember, Overledger is essentially this operating system that overlays between all of this to help blockchain, even, not even non-DLT networks to communicate. Okay, so it's a huge thread. I'm only going to go through about half of it. Right here, 80% of central banks are now researching the deployment of CBDCs. They've been doing this for quite some time. We understand even going digital, they've been doing that for decades and exploring that. So the decline of cash usage, of course, with COVID and all this, we have talks of global stable coins, lower, of course, faster payments in this push across the globe for not only domestic and last mile, but international, because cross-border is typically 10 times more expensive for certain illiquid corridors, specifically those that XRP are targeting. And XRP is roughly doing, 10% of all remittance flows between the Mexican peso and the US dollar, and they are planning to grow and scale that accordingly. We are in the right place at the right time. All right, so you guys, we've seen all this. We've seen the IMF commentary, and I'll go over that at the end of the video, saying CBDCs are not enough to solve the problem at hand. Remember, is just another part and component of improving the domestic. If you guys watched my video last week reviewing that and David Schwartz commentary, also great video right here. This was by Real Vision. I'm sure you guys are well aware of them as well. And right here, so this is the CEO of Quant, as we know, Gilbert Verdian, and he had the vision to see how blockchain and CBDCs will revolutionize the global financial system and founded Quant, and of course the native asset, QNT. And remember, QNT, guys, I'm not trying to shill it by any means, but I do find it to be a very good project, and others may not. Just like some think XRP is a scam, which is a complete joke to me, everyone has different opinions. If everybody agreed, the price would already be high, it would be adopted, etc. All right, and there were people that didn't think that Amazon was a good buy in 2004. Same concepts, time and time again. All right, so it has been laying the foundations to make that a reality ever since. Let's start with the technology. Right here, talking about Overledger, this is literally the operating system, and it enables, and just at a high level, enables interoperability with any blockchain and any existing networks without the overhead of adding another blockchain in the middle as a middleman to provide a scalable and future-proof solution. And of course, we've gone over this, we've seen the members, rather reputable as well. Highly recommend checking this out. And right here, each central bank will likely issue their own central bank digital currency. We are seeing the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. We're seeing, Ukraine, with even mentioning XLM and piloting, with Stellar Foundation. We had the Stellar Foundation at the IMF panel the other week. People were saying, why wasn't Ripple there? Because Ripple was speaking at the DC FinTech Week as well. So all these groups are everywhere, all at the same time. I believe XLM and XRP will be rather complementary. Perhaps one focuses on wholesale and the other attacks retail. I just don't get, I don't think that people are aware of how much friction is in the current system and how there's going to be multiple networks and multiple crypto assets to solve the trillions, if not even 1 quadrillion plus in problems today. And that is just the way I see things based off of some of the smartest people in the ecosystem saying time and time again, what is at hand and what is at play here. All right. We can even see other blockchains right here, XLM, Tezos, Vechain, XRP, etc. Polkadot is also a great project. Anyways, before I get sidetracked, so each central bank will likely issue their own CBDC on their own blockchain, likely to be based on a permissioned blockchain, such as, and permissioned meaning a private blockchain, right? If they have sensitive or private information, they don't want everyday people to be able to access it, just like how we can download the Bitcoin software and see the whole history of Bitcoin. They don't want that. They want privacy. So they'll interoperate with those public blockchains as well. So we have R3's Corda, we have Hyperledger, which also works, and Quorum, which also works with Ripple's creation, Interledger Protocol, which has been trialed by central banks. This is not coincidental. Interoperability will be key not only to enable cross-border payments between central banks, but also with existing payment networks, all the way down to integrating with existing payment infrastructures such as PIN terminals, we have point-of-sale systems, etc. All right, getting to some interesting parts right here as well. Whatever form cross-border payments takes, whether it be atomic swaps, which we know that even RippleNet utilizes, of CBDCs, the creation of potentially an international monetary fund, SDR, which is a special drawing rights global reserve digital currency, or some type of synthetic hegemonic, I always mess up that word, hegemonic currency, kind of like that dominant supreme ruling currency, like a single currency, and then even finality with the USE. This is the utility settlement coin. Everyone was calling, just like people call things Ethereum killer, this is the same concept of this being called the XRP killer. No surprise, there's been dozens and dozens, but really, I have not seen the development for certain projects that really threaten anything that certain assets are going towards. All right, or bridge assets built on open networks such as XRP and XLM. Quant connects all of them. And keep in mind, Quant is an ERC20 token currently, but similar to assets like Chainlink, they are blockchain agnostic. So if they ever have to move and switch, they are able to do so. They are versatile. They can adapt to the ever-growing changes. They're not boxing themselves in by any means. This same concept with things that like Ripple are working on for XRP and all of the, abilities built around the XRP ledger. It's just what I'm seeing. And the funds and the people in this ecosystem behind certain projects that I mentioned on this channel, I feel have very, very strong partners, just like HBAR, QNT, XRP, XLM, even ADA, Cardano, Vechain. A lot of these assets have a strong reputation, but it does not mean that they are guaranteed for success. Understand that, okay? We are still in early days. Their interchange solution will enable payments across a variety of, payment rails. I'm sure you guys are familiar with CHAPS and, SEPA, however you want to say it, SWIFT, all of this integrating with the real-time gross settlement systems all the way down to mobile payments and, whatever else. Very interesting. All right, so we've gone over this, this ODAP, this digital asset protocol, this open framework in collaboration with MIT and Intel. And of course, to no surprise, we've went over that recent Algorand review that I did, and we showed the ties to MIT as well. Notice, an open blockchain agnostic protocol enabling interoperability of assets and messages across DLT, as well as Oracle functionality. Interesting. All right, and we're almost done with this thread, guys. Super interesting information here. So with the use of decentralized trusted computer-based gateways, I don't want to get into the tech here. I was already reading this earlier. It's just about this. Enabling interoperability, making sure it's scalable, secure, compliant. And notice, they're working with the actual financial institutions, just like some other groups that we know, such as Stellar Foundation and the company Ripple, guys. Instead of trying to replace the system altogether, I respect sometimes parts of the anarchist viewpoint. I am here in this market for a return on my investment, teach their own, but I think that this is the way to do things, working with these banks and regulators. And if you look at the background of the CEOs, the people on the board of these ecosystems, I think you understand how this is all going to end up. And I'll just leave it at that. But notice, AML, KYC, FATF, travel requirements, and other security requirements required for banks and governments. They're trying to work. And yes, this approach may take longer, but it is slow and steady. And this is something that I feel a lot more comfortable with investing in. All right. Right here, MIT, remember, MIT runs an XRP validator. They have deep ties with Algorand and the Algorand Foundation, and now QNT, have also recently partnered with the Federal Reserve in Boston, which we've talked about, to research the creation of CBDCs. And remember, Algorand is really one of the first protocols, a proof-of-stake protocol, purely proof-of-stake, that is extremely versatile as well, that is focusing on the borderless economy. Right, so Quant have been in discussions with the Fed as well as regarding a CBDC. Should not be surprised whatsoever. And of course, we can see these task force meetings as well. And this is the CEO of Quant. All right. Next up, been in discussions with the regulatory bodies such as the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority. Where have we seen them before? Well, they're based out of the UK, and they've already ruled that XRP they deemed it having non-security-like attributes. No surprise. And also we know that they're in close with Algo as well. Should not be surprised one bit by any of this. Meetings with European central banks, as well as being a founding member of what we talked about, the International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications. All right. And then also the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, also known as the central bank of central banks, has partnered with Bank of Canada, Bank of England. I mean, guys, RippleNet partners right here in the ECB. Now, and also for Nordic central banks and the Federal Reserve in the research of CBDCs. We've gone over a variety of old documents by different Federal Reserve groups mentioning Ripple and XRP. But now what I want to talk about is this network of SIA. Right here, World of SIA, 1,700 clients, 50 countries. Last I checked, it was like, 590 or maybe 600 plus banks. And this has to do with, areas in essentially the pan-European area, but specifically in Italy. Right here. And I mean, we're thinking not only QNT, but also R3 and Ripple. Central banks and banks don't send payments over the internet. They have mission critical private infrastructure networks. In order for the tech to be used, it needs to be integrated into those networks. This is why Quant's partnership with SIA, SIA, is so important. All right, so SIA provides a private financial network, which is the backbone of the European financial market. SIA and SWIFT are the only two providers for the Eurosystem single market infrastructure gateway. I've been talking about this probably since late 2018, and we also remember who else was another network provider besides for the Target 2. Throughout the Eurosystem, that is Task Group. We can also think of Colt, COLT. You guys can check them out as well. All right, so granting access to all real-time gross settlement, securities, and instant payment transactions to Europe. I don't think people comprehend how much value is in all real-time gross settlement, securities, and instant payments, and think of tips also. All right, and here's the meat and potatoes of this, guys, because I always mix up SIA Chain and SIA Net. So right here, Overledger, which is the operating system of Quant Network, is integrated into SIA Chain, part of that private financial network, SIA Net, that is the backbone of the European financial market. The entire Eurosystem. We also know the integrations and relations to Ripple, the company, with XRP, enabling the 580 banks, I believe it is even higher than 580 banks now, central banks, trading venues that are building projects on SIA Chain. We've heard the gentleman of SIA Chain, or SIA specifically say R3 and Ripple, and talking about Corda should be no surprise. And I'm not screaming XRP, I'm not screaming Quant, I'm just saying that they are absolutely involved in this type of revolution, connecting the modern infrastructure with the old and being that bridge between the traditional markets. Notice SIA Chain to benefit from scalable interoperability. This whole ecosystem, it will still be private. There will still be permissioned aspects to it, but it will be more distributed. Maybe not 100% decentralized like everybody preaches, but it will move from a 100% centralized ecosystem, which has tons of systemic risk, to overall a more distributed landscape. SIA has not only partnered with the ECB, the European Central Bank, connecting all central banks in Europe to the eSMIG. And again, this is what it's the European Single Market Infrastructure Gateway, but also provide networks for other central banks such as Bank of Canada, Nordic central banks, and 100 plus tier 1 banks. Highly recommend looking more into this. And remember, we went over this recently. SIA's recent merger with Nexi, literally, it was, millions involved. Let me see if I can actually see that actual amount, because I was curious, because I know there was stock and shares involved with that as well. So right here, guys, so this MOU, this type of merger, notice they'll have an estimated capitalization of more than 15 billion euros. This is not small money. In terms of US dollar, that's over $17 billion. All right, and essentially done with this thread, guys. Highly recommend looking at this. But right here, like we have this guy just saying that, QNT's success is going to damage XRP and XLM, which I completely disagree with. We see that QNT is blockchain agnostic as well, so it's versatile. We have C3 Nick. Usually I respect his opinions, but I don't necessarily agree with, what he's seeing here, just kind of taking a shot at QNT and just thinking that they're not laying any groundwork whatsoever for CBDCs. I think that QNT is playing a big role in interoperability, but time will tell and nothing is guaranteed. We have this guy, saying Ripple's getting sued by Australian banks for Pay ID. But remember, I don't think they're really going to get in much trouble because their actual, trademark expired as well. So you guys keep an open mind. Everybody has their opinion. There are plenty of smart people in this thread. But at the end of the day, we are in a speculative market. All of us are going to have to speculate. And those that speculate correctly will walk away with the biggest bags. All right. And just to finish up, just a few points. So we have Jamie Dimon, already talked about that. We have the ECB, talking about all of these natural disasters, talking about the use of the digital euro. We have Bank of America, which is a RippleNet partner, talking about, inflation and the digital dollar as well. We have the IMF right here. Central bank digital currencies may benefit countries looking to exert even greater control over their monetary policy. So there's pros and cons, but it's not a solution for every crisis. And this is a report from the IMF. This was published Monday recently. So you guys understand, obviously, going digital will have their benefits, but it's not going to solve every single problem. It's not going to be solving the international issue. And that is why I believe that XRP has one of the best chances to solve the international friction, starting with the most illiquid corridors. All right, same concept for XLM and some other assets. Now, 2 quotes and then we'll call it a day. Right here. So this is from Brian Brooks, of course, of the OCC. If the US engages the private sector, we believe that it should embrace and demand that model that worked for the early internet, open source and interoperable technology standards. This is what's happening. Period. Across the board, these groups, these INATBA members, pay attention to this. And then lastly, also from the CFTC chairman, and of course the former CFTC chairman represents Ripple, is an advisor for them, and is a part of a law firm that represents Ripple, involved with the Digital Dollar Project, and Accenture is one of the lead architects involved with that. And we can tie Accenture to, Bank of Japan, Bank of Canada, all of these groups, guys. Their hand is everywhere in terms of DLT and transformation, including R3 and Swift. Notice, at the DC FinTech Week, where Brad Garlinghouse also was, he said, "The only thing that scares me is the United States falling behind on a central bank digital currency." Very interesting. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you stuck around and stuck through this, because I understand if you guys just want to hear hype all the time, but you have to pay attention to what is occurring. So appreciate all of you that stuck around for this whole video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.